So House Republicans, by the skin of their teeth, just passed the big, beautiful bill, which includes tax breaks that mainly benefit the top 1%, spending cuts to Medicaid and food stamps, and a massive increase in defense spending for the Pentagon. Wonderful. As you probably remember from 2017, in one of Trump's signature accomplishments, he passed a bill that cut taxes, but 80% of the benefits went to the top 1% of earners. So it was effectively a tax cut for his rich buddies. Well, time for round two, because this bill does the exact same thing, except it makes those tax cuts permanent. The one passed in 2017 had a sunset provision where it would phase out after a certain date. This bill might benefit you if you take the standard deduction when you file for taxes, because it gives a $1,000 increase for individuals, bringing it to $16,000 for individual filers, and then a $2,000 boost for joint filers, which, if you're not well versed in tax lingo, it just means that it reduces the amount of income that is subject to income tax. So you might get more back when you file your taxes, which is great, but it's only temporary. And as I'll get to in a minute, there's other parts of this bill that are so bad that it will offset any positives that this bill has to offer. There's a temporary $500 increase in the child tax credit. Cool. If this bill gets passed, there will be tax breaks for tips, overtime, and car loan interest, but it would expire in 2028. So now to all of the horrendous shit in the bill. This bill will cut the food stamps program, SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, by $267 billion. Low-income people who rely on food stamps. Many of my clients, I'm a social worker. I help people apply for food stamps all the time. These people need it, bro. It's needed. And it's already difficult to get approved for any amount that actually helps you out. I have clients that get like $30 a month for food stamps. That barely helps. Cutting this program by $267 billion is essentially slicing it in half. Do you know how many low-income people are going to die? That's not hyperbole. People rely on food stamps to get food. A focal point of this bill is the nearly $700 billion in reduced spending for Medicaid. You know, the healthcare for disabled people and the elderly. A $700 billion cut is again nearly slicing it in half. This is healthcare to the most vulnerable people of our country. If you support this cut, you might have brainworms, okay? So another part of the bill is that there would be new community engagement requirements to be eligible for Medicaid. It would make it so to be eligible for Medicaid, you would have a new community engagement requirement. In order to get Medicaid, you would have to do at least 80 hours per month of work, education, or service. In order to get this healthcare, you would have to work or volunteer for at least 20 hours per week. Do you not understand that this healthcare is for the most vulnerable people? It's for disabled people. It's for the elderly. How do you expect them to fulfill this obligation? Medicaid exists to help ease the burden of people who are vulnerable, who aren't able to work full-time jobs and make enough money to buy their own insurance. That's the point. Another asinine provision to Medicaid would be it would force people to have to verify their eligibility for Medicaid twice a year instead of just once. In my full-time job, I help people apply for Medicaid. I help them apply for food stamps and other government benefits. It's a freaking hassle already to renew your Medicaid. Many people who are on Medicaid are not able to advocate for themselves properly. And with low funding in our social services and caseworkers are in low supply, it's really difficult to get a hold of a caseworker to help you renew your benefits in time. So making this a requirement to do it twice per year is just asinine. It doesn't make sense. Here's a fun fact for you. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office did the research, and they found that this proposal, these changes to Medicaid, would reduce the number of people with healthcare by 8.6 million over the next decade. Nearly 9 million Americans are going to lose healthcare because of this. Bro, people are going to die. This bill would also make it easier for people to get away with murder. Let me explain. So in 1934, Congress passed the National Firearms Act. The National Firearms Act, one of the things that it did was it placed a tax on gun silencers. Firearm silencers make it more difficult to recognize the sound of gunfire. It literally just makes the shot more quiet. It makes it more difficult to locate the source of gunshots. A silencer impairs the ability of law enforcement to respond to active shooters. Right now, there's a $200 tax on silencers, and it's effective. It makes it so less people have access to it. And although I don't think it's enough, a $200 tax does de-incentivize some people from buying them. $200 is a lot of money for some people. So it does keep our community safer. The GOP wants to undo that. They want to make it easier for people to put silencers on their firearms, which will make it easier for people to get access to them and make it more difficult for law enforcement to respond to tragedies. The bill also gives $46.5 billion to revive the construction of Trump's border wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. $4 billion is allocated to hiring 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, 5,000 new customs officers, and it funds 10,000 more ICE agents. It's funny because 2 summers ago, Biden and Harris supported a similar bill. That bill would have hired thousands of new Border Patrol agents. It funded the hiring of more judges at the border so that the asylum claims cases can move quicker. And it also increased border security and investment in border technology by the billions. And Trump realized that if Biden passed this, it would be a political win for him. So what did Trump do? He called all of his buddies in the Senate and he convinced several of them to vote no, because he knew this would be a political win for Biden. And if Biden would have passed that bill, Trump wouldn't have a major issue to run on in 2024 because the border situation would have drastically been improved, and that wasn't good for his campaign. The bill also increases the Pentagon's budget by $150 billion, making it a nearly $1 trillion budget for defense spending. Absolutely maddening. They're cutting food stamps and Medicaid, which is healthcare for disabled people and elderly, while at the same time increasing funding for the Pentagon, which has failed 7 straight audits. 60% of the Pentagon's budget goes unaccounted for, hence why they've failed like 6 or 7 audits in a row. But yet we have the audacity to give them more money for money that God knows where it's going around the world to perpetuate whatever fucking wars. And we have the audacity to sit here and cut safety net programs for our own people at the same time. God help us all. So yeah, those are the main aspects of the big, beautiful bill that just got passed in the House. And I hope to God that the Senate votes no on this. I guess we'll find out soon, won't we?